There are gods whose names are spoken loudly, gods of thunder, gods of seas, gods of bright celestial order. And then there is Hecate, a goddess not of the sky, nor of the earth, nor of the ocean's depths, but of the in-between, the threshold, the place where light hesitates and darkness begins. She is the keeper of the keys, the queen of ghosts, the mother of witches, and the silent watcher at every door between worlds. Unlike the thunder of Zeus or the roar of Poseidon, Hecate arrives only as a whisper, a flicker of torchlight, the rustling of leaves, a breath behind your shoulder when the night grows too still. To the ancients, she was both protector and terror, comfort and dread, a goddess who could bless you or lead you astray forever. Her story is not written loudly in Homer or shouted by poets. It lives in shadows, in fragments, in spells etched on lead tablets, in moonlit rituals whispered by women forgotten by history. Tonight we descend into that shadow. Tonight we enter her world. Hecate is unlike any other deity in the Greek pantheon. Though widely worshipped across Greece, she is older than Greece itself. A titaness who survived the fall of the Titans, who earned Zeus's respect, who held dominion not over one realm, but three. The earth, where mortals walk. The sea, where the restless dead wander. The sky, where she carries her twin torches that cut through darkness, but her true domain is liminality. The spaces between spaces. The crossroads, the thresholds of homes, the womb, the tomb, the doorway between life and death, and especially the hour when the moon rises and the world becomes softer, fluid, more open to what lies beyond sight. She is depicted in three forms: maiden, mother, and crone, or as three women standing back to back, facing different directions, watching all roads, all futures, all fates, every path that diverges, every destiny that shifts. These belong to her. Hecate's origins are older than Olympus. Some say she is the daughter of Asteria, the goddess of falling stars and night prophecy, and Perseus, the titan of destruction. Others claim she originated in Thrace or Anatolia, or even older matriarchal cultures where the triple moon goddess ruled with absolute authority. But the Greeks adopted her and elevated her. Even Zeus, who distrusted the old gods, gave her a rare honor. To Hecate, Zeus gave power over earth, sea, and sky. Hesiod theogony. This made her unique. Zeus did not fear her, he respected her. Why? Because even the king of gods knew that no throne, no lightning bolt, no god of war could rule what she ruled. Fear, fate, the unseen. When humanity swore oaths, Hecate listened. When they cursed enemies, she enforced. When they sought prophecy, she answered. When they died, she was often the first presence their soul met. Her temples were not built on mountain peaks like Zeus's, nor beside the sea like Poseidon's, but at the crossroads outside of town, where torches burned and offerings were left for wandering spirits. She was the guardian of travelers and the escort of ghosts, a goddess who walked freely through the living world and the dead. Hecate has many faces, literally. Artists often depict her triplicate, three bodies fused into one divine being. One holding a torch to guide, one holding a key to open, one holding a dagger to protect. Sometimes she carries serpents, sometimes she is crowned with a halo of moonlight. Sometimes she appears as a single woman, hooded and silent, her eyes reflecting flame. At night, the ancient Greeks believed she walked the roads with her pack of phantom hounds, the dogs of the underworld, whose howls were warnings that Hecate was near. She is beauty and horror, gentleness and wrath, sanctuary and nightmare, a goddess that refuses to be one thing, because the night itself is never just one thing. She is the embodiment of contradiction, darkness that guides, danger that protects, death that illuminates. Most titans fell after their war with Zeus. Some were imprisoned in Tartarus. Others fled into oblivion, but Hecate, she remained untouched. Why? Because she chose neither side. During the Titanomachy, she drifted between both armies like a shadow between bonfires, helping where she wished, withholding where she wished. She was not a soldier. She was something more ancient, more essential. And after the war, Zeus rewarded her neutrality with enduring power. While Titans were banished, Hecate became goddess of witchcraft, keeper of necromancy, mistress of night magic, guardian of thresholds, bride of the moon. Mortals feared her, but they also depended on her, because she could protect against the very terrors she commanded. And so while Olympus ruled the daylight, Hecate ruled the night. Hecate was not merely one goddess. To the ancients, she was three, moving together as one consciousness, a trinity of silhouettes turning slowly in the dark. One facing the past, one facing the present, one facing the future. Her statues often stood at the crossings of roads, carved with three faces or three bodies fused at the spine, as if she existed in all timelines at once. Travelers whispered that if they approached quietly, the stone forms changed expression, a warning, a blessing, or a silent judgment. This triple nature wasn't monstrous, it was cosmic awareness, a reminder that choices echo across invisible corridors of time. Hecate stood at every threshold, between life and death, between childhood and adulthood, between safety and danger, between the world of living and the lands where ghosts wander. She knew every door, and she alone knew which ones should never be opened. Night belonged to Hecate, but not the gentle night of resting humans. The wild, unpredictable veil where spirits rise from the soil like mist. When the moon reached its thinnest silver blade, mortals said Hecate walked the earth. Her approach was heralded by black dogs howling at nothing, torches burning with green flames, the sudden chill of invisible company. Ghosts did not terrify her, they obeyed her. Hecate could guide spirits upward or bury them deeper. She could silence the angry dead or unleash them upon those who dared insult her. That is why Crossroads were sacred and frightening. Offerings were left there at night, eggs, fish, bread, honey, and coins, not as worship, but as payment. Payment for safe passage, payment so that the dead would not follow you home, payment so that Hecate's glance would not linger too long. She never needed temples, the entire night was her sanctuary. In every ancient whispered tradition, Hecate watched over the practitioners of magic. Where other gods ruled with stone temples, priests, sacrifices, and laws, Hecate ruled with intuition, solitude, and the raw electricity of secret knowledge. Her magic was not stagecraft, not incantation recited from memory, but the visceral power of understanding the hidden currents of the world. To follow Hecate was to learn the languages plants whisper as they grow in the dark, the names of stars that mortals were never meant to know, the thin cracks between realities where energy leaks like glowing mist. Witches did not pray to her, they invoked her, because she was not a distant deity. She was a guide, and in return, she demanded only one thing: fearlessness. For those who followed her path, walked between worlds where fear becomes a living thing. The torches Hecate carried were not symbols. They were tools of revelation. When Hecate raised her torches, no lie could remain hidden. No secret could remain buried. No creature of shadow could maintain its disguise. She illuminated the guilt of kings, the shame of heroes, the hidden cruelty of gods. Even Zeus respected this power, for the king of Olympus feared one thing: truth that cannot be manipulated. And Hecate held that truth in her hands like burning fire. With her torches, she guided Demeter through the endless night when Persephone was stolen to the Underworld. While the other gods watched from afar, Hecate walked beside Demeter step by agonizing step into realms mortals could not imagine. She did not guide with hope, she guided with certainty. Wherever her torches shone, the path was revealed. Though she walked the earth and sky freely, Hecate's throne, if she could be said to have one, sat deep in the Underworld. Even Hades respected her, not feared, not tolerated, respected. He knew that the boundaries of life and death were hers to manipulate. He ruled the dead. She controlled whether they stayed dead. When Persephone became queen of the Underworld, Hecate became her chief companion and advisor, a constant presence at the queen's side. She moved through the realm like a shadow of authority, with the ease of one who belonged in all places. Demons bowed, ghosts scattered. Even the Furies quieted when she passed. For Hecate was not made of death. She was made of the threshold. And thresholds command everything. Every crossroads belonged to her. Not just the ones carved into dusty roads, but the crossroads inside the human soul. When one stood on the edge of a life-changing decision, when the world seemed to hold its breath, when the heart trembled between go and turn back, Hecate was there. But she did not choose for mortals. She illuminated the possible futures and allowed them to bear the weight of their decision. Choice was her domain, and choice is heavier than fate. At every turning point in Greek mythology, in every story where destiny shifts, Hecate's shadow is somewhere in the background, silent, watching, holding a torch. To the Greeks, Hecate was never simply one thing. She was a trinity in motion, a shifting, impossible harmony of three faces, three powers, three worlds. They called her Trioditis, the goddess of the triple road. But the triple nature was far older than any mortal language, older than Olympus, older than Titans, older even than the stories told around the first fires of man. In one face, she was the maiden, youthful, swift, untouched by fear. In another, she was the mother, the keeper of magic, protector of newborns, guardian of the living. And in the third, she was the crone, wise, eternal, whispering secrets of the dead. Not three separate beings, not three personalities trapped in a single body, but one essence viewed through three truths, like moonlight reflecting off water, shifting as you walk around it. When she traveled the earth, mortals said they saw her accompanied by two ghostly women, shadows of herself. When she moved through the heavens, she appeared as a halo around the moon, and when she descended into the underworld, she became a flame in the darkness, a light no soul could extinguish. To understand Hecate, you must understand the liminal, the space between. She is the goddess of thresholds, boundaries, transitions, birth and death, dreams and waking, the living and the dead, choices and consequences. She is what happens when the world holds its breath. Travelers in the ancient world feared the night. It was not the dark that frightened them, but what walked within it. There was one light they prayed to see, the twin torches of Hecate. These flames were said to glow a strange, otherworldly white, like lightning frozen in her grasp. She held them not to chase away monsters, but to reveal them. Not to offer comfort, but truth. For Hecate's light did not lie. It showed a traveler what truly awaited them at the next turn, salvation or doom. When ghostly apparitions wandered the world, Hecate was the one leading them. When spirits rose from graves during the sacred nights, she guided them. And when witches performed rites in the hidden hours before dawn, they invoked her name for illumination that no mortal fire could produce. Her torches were hope to the lost, fear to the wicked, and certainty to the dying. Because where Hecate walked, nothing could hide. Hecate's connection to the dead was older than Hades. She did not rule them, she understood them. In the ancient mind, ghosts were restless, fearful, confused. But Hecate moved among them with the tenderness of a shepherd, guiding lost animals through a forest. On the nights of the Diapnon, the last day of the lunar month, the Greeks performed rituals at the Crossroads to honor her. They left offerings, bread, garlic, honey, fish, a sacred meal known as Hecate's supper. These offerings were not for mortals to touch again. They belonged to her and to those who walked at her side. For it was said that on these nights, Hecate traveled with the entire procession of the dead. Some souls were harmless, others were furious, hungry or broken. But under her watch, they moved in silence. And if someone disturbed them, if someone failed to honor the crossroads, the dead would remember. Hecate's gift was not merely speaking to spirits, but commanding them through compassion, fear, or authority. She was the only goddess who could open the night door, the gateway between worlds, and close it with a gesture. To worship her was to respect the veil between life and death. To ignore her was to risk becoming one of the lost forever. At first, this seems contradictory. What does the goddess of ghosts, magic, and night have to do with childbirth? But birth is a threshold. It is a doorway between worlds. In ancient Greece, midwives whispered prayers to her. Women placed amulets of her symbol, the strophalos, a spinning wheel of fire, near their beds, because they believed Hecate protected the newborn from the spirits that hovered near the living during birth. To the Greeks, the world of spirits was never far, and a child, new and unfamiliar with life, could be vulnerable. Hecate guarded them as she guarded all souls crossing from one existence to the next. Her presence was both fierce and gentle, the protector who held back the darkness while guiding the newly born into the world. And as with birth, so with death. As a soul took its final breath, Hecate was said to be the last divine figure it saw before crossing into the underworld. She did not judge, she did not condemn, she simply lit the path. If the ancient world had a goddess of magic, it was Hecate. Not the harmless magic of charms and trinkets, not the gentle magic of herbal teas or whispered prayers, but the old magic, the raw magic, the kind of magic that could reshape fate, twist the elements, summon the dead, and open the gates of realms best left untouched. Hecate was the teacher of Circe, the enchantress who transformed men into beasts. She was the mentor of Medea, the most feared sorceress of Greek legend. She inspired the witches of Thessaly, whose spells were said to pull the moon from the sky. A single strand of her hair was believed to contain enough power to break curses. A single drop of her blessing could give a mortal, terrifying insight into the unseen. Her sacred animals, dogs, snakes, black horses, became symbols of night magic. Her plants, belladonna, yew, mandrake, were ingredients in spells meant to touch the divine. To invoke Hecate was to walk willingly into the night. To serve her was to accept that knowledge comes with danger, and to disrespect her was to invite madness. She was not a goddess of safe magic. She was the goddess of magic humans were warned not to practice, and yet they still did. Of all her domains, Hecate is most famous for the Crossroads. 3 paths, 3 destinies, 3 futures waiting to be chosen, not because of bandits or beasts, but because they were believed to be spiritually charged. A decision made at a crossroads was binding. It echoed into fate itself, and Hecate stood at everyone. When a traveler reached a crossroads at night, they prayed. When a king made a political choice, he invoked her. When a witch needed guidance, she drew a circle in the dirt and whispered Hecate's name 3 times, because Hecate understood that the greatest magic of all is choice. The future is not a straight line, it is a labyrinth of possibilities. Hecate saw them all. She did not force mortals down one path or another. Instead, she lit each road with her torch, revealing what waited in the darkness, letting them choose their destiny. Whether salvation or ruin followed, that was never her burden. She was the guide, not the judge. Night does not fall in Hecate's domain, it unfolds. Like a curtain drawn across reality, the shadows thicken, stretch, and breathe. The air trembles with a cold that feels less like temperature and more like presence. A presence that sees you before you see it. And then she is there, not appearing, not arriving, but simply already standing in the one place between places, in the silence between breaths, in the darkness between moments, where she has always been. She rules the boundaries, and therefore the fates of all 3. 2 torches burn in her hands, their flames unnaturally steady. They do not flicker, do not hiss. They glow like molten moonlight, revealing truths rather than light. One torch illuminates what is, the other exposes what is hidden. Mortals rarely notice the difference. Hecate notices everything. Her footsteps leave no sound, but the spirits of the dead recoil from her passing. Not in fear, but in reverence, for Hecate is not their enemy. She is their advocate, their escort, their guardian. The wandering dead follow her like a procession of pale lanterns. Where she walks, the veil thins. Most gods have 1 realm, some have 2. Hecate has 3, a place where reality thins, where a decision is a spell and a path is a prophecy. Forest paths where wolves bow their heads as she passes, where poisonous herbs rise like soldiers awaiting instruction, where moonlight itself takes shape, swirling around her ankles. This is where witches find her, or rather, this is where she lets witches find her. A place no god but Hades can command, and yet Hades never stands in her way, for even he knows Hecate does not need permission. She moves freely between life and death, dream and waking, seen and unseen. She is the only deity trusted by both Persephone and the restless dead. Olympian gods rarely agree on anything, but on one matter they share a whispered caution. Hecate is not to be crossed. Ares is predictable in rage, Poseidon in storms, but Hecate, her motives drift like smoke. Her alliances shift like shadows. Her power does not roar, it waits. And sometimes she answered, sometimes she did not. Some nights, rare nights, her domain stirs into spectacle. It begins with a soft rustling, like leaves dragged across stone, but there is no wind. Then the wolves come first, slinking out of the tree line, eyes glowing pale gold, silent as myth. Behind them the spirits rise, Not in anger, not in hunger, but in mournful obedience. Last comes the queen of threefold shadows. Her three faces glimmer faintly, each looking in a different direction. Past, present, future. Witches kneel as she passes. Night creatures press their bellies to the ground. Even the moon dims, as if offering its own light in submission. This procession is not a hunt. It is an inspection, a patrol of the boundaries. When Hecate walks the world, no demon dares cross the veil, no ghost dares stray too far from its tether. She keeps the balance. Hecate is not the goddess of light or darkness. She is the goddess of the truth that lies between them. She knows the secrets witches are born with but never understand. The words spoken by dying kings, the places where curses sleep, the pathways carved by dreamers, the names of gods who were buried by time. The rituals mortals are not meant to remember, and the real reason the dead whisper on certain nights. And she keeps these truths guarded, not out of cruelty, but because humans, if handed too much power, will always destroy themselves. So she offers glimpses instead, torches in the dark, hints, dreams, symbols, just enough to guide the worthy, never enough to tempt the unworthy into catastrophe. But even a goddess of boundaries has enemies. There are beings older than titans, older than gods, older than the concept of law. Creatures born of chaos and hunger, spirits who feed not on flesh, but on the meaning of things. The unmakers, they drift between realities, silencing memories, draining will, eroding the identity of the living. To them, mortals are not prey, mortals are food. And they fear only one being, Hecate, for her torches reveal their true forms, and her voice commands the shadows they hide within. When she hunts them, the night itself becomes a weapon, an ocean of blackness that swallows the unmakers whole. They scream, but no mortal hears. Only the wolves, only the ghosts, only the goddess who walks between the worlds. It is said every witch owes her power to Hecate, whether she knows it or not. Some call her willingly, some accidentally awaken her, some inherit her mark through bloodlines. But all witches share one truth: their power is borrowed, their strength is conditional, their flame is held by her. Those who respect her guidance gain protection and clarity. Those who defy her find themselves lost in their own spells, trapped in illusions they created, or worse, unable to tell the difference between voice and spirit, shadow and thought, dream and reality. Hecate gives generously, but she takes precisely what is owed. There is a legend, whispered only by night priests, of a doorway hidden deep beneath the earth, carved not by mortals, nor gods, nor titans. A doorway with no hinges, no threshold, no inscription. Just a single command: turn back. This door is said to lead to a realm even gods will not visit. A realm beyond death, beyond dream, beyond meaning. Hecate alone stands before it, sometimes guarding, sometimes listening, sometimes answering. What lies behind the door is a mystery older than Olympus, older than creation. Night drifts across the world like a slow-moving tide. To mortals, darkness means the absence of light. But to Hecate, darkness is a presence, a living, breathing veil that stretches between realms like a cosmic curtain. The sun may rule the day and Selene may shine upon the night, but it is Hecate who governs the boundaries themselves. And in this chapter of her story, we step into the deepest part of her domain. The hidden doorways that separate the living from the dead, the waking world from the world of shadows. For Hecate is not only the goddess of Crossroads, she is the goddess of thresholds. Those thin, trembling lines where one reality ends and another begins. She is the one who asks the quiet question, are you certain you want to cross? Long before Olympus rose, before mortal kingdoms carved their names into stone, the first door Hecate guarded was the most ancient of all, the border between life and death. The Underworld had its guardians, Cerberus at its gates, Thanatos as the gentle hand of death, Persephone as its queen, and Hades as its ruler. But Hecate was the only one who walked freely between both sides. She carried torches that did not burn with flame, but with revelation. Where her light fell, illusions evaporated. Truth stood naked, fate itself paused. Mortals feared her because she was the only deity who could witness the exact moment when a soul loosened from its body, and decide whether that passage would be peaceful or filled with echoes. Some called her a psychopomp, a guide of souls, but she was more than a guide. She was the doorkeeper. She held the key, not Thanatos. She chose which spirits lingered, which were banished, and which were granted safe crossing. This power did not make her cruel, it made her necessary. For a world without borders is a world that devours itself. The next threshold she ruled was stranger still. The liminal space where magic flickers into existence. To the Greeks, magic was not fireworks or spells written on parchment. Magic was the world beneath the world, the truth beneath the surface of what mortals could understand. And Hecate was the only goddess who could stand in that deeper layer without losing form. Witches called to her because she listened. Seers invoked her because she revealed. Sorcerers honored her because she granted power without demanding obedience. She did not rule magic, she embodied it. She was the pulse of the unknown, the breath that moved through ancient rituals, the soft whisper behind the oracle's trances. When Medea called upon her, the very air thickened. When Circe invoked her name, the sea trembled. When necromancers whispered her epithets, the dead stirred with cautious respect. Hecate did not bring magic into the world. She was the door through which it entered. Every mortal, whether king or beggar, eventually stands at a crossroads, a moment where one choice determines everything that follows. This too was Hecate's realm. At the crossroads, sacrifices were made in silence. Honey, garlic, black dogs, and moonlit offerings wrapped in cloth. Mortals believed she would appear there, just out of view, three-formed, three-faced, watching from past, present, and future. But Hecate did not force choices. She illuminated them. She did not twist fate. She revealed it. To the ancients, crossroads were sacred because they were dangerous, a place where the physical world weakened and the divine could slip through. And if you were brave enough to leave an offering at the crossroads at night, you might feel a breath against your ear, a sign that the goddess had accepted your plea. Sometimes guidance came in dreams, sometimes in symbols, sometimes in silence. The silence was the clearest message of all. The choice is yours. Not all spirits moved on peacefully. Some remained, some wandered. Some clung to old grief, unfinished vengeance, or the final echo of their human life. These were the restless dead, and they feared Hecate more than they feared Hades himself. For Hecate was the only goddess who could command the wandering spirits. She could scatter them with a gesture, call them forth with a whisper, bind them, release them, or silence them for eternity. She did not do this out of malice. She did it because she was balance. A world where ghosts ran free would drown in madness. A world with no ghosts at all would lose memory. Hecate preserved both. In the hours near midnight, the witching hour, she roamed the roads with her pack of spectral hounds. Their howls struck fear deep into the marrow of anyone who heard them. Not because the hounds were terrifying, but because they announced that the goddess herself was near. And now we reach the doorway that even the Olympians spoke of only in whispers. A secret boundary, a forbidden threshold, a path that existed outside the laws of gods and men. The door of forgotten things. Here is what the old poet said. There is a place in the underworld where memories that are too painful to bear are abandoned. Where love that ended in tragedy still burns like a dying ember. Where oaths broken by gods sink into quiet darkness. Where forgotten prophecies sleep. This place is not guarded by Hades, not watched by Persephone, not recorded by the fates. Only Hecate knows its location. Only Hecate walks freely among its shadows. Here she tends to the abandoned thoughts of the cosmos, the unsaid words of heroes, the half-dreams of mortals, and the lost futures that never came to be. It is here, in this silent archive of sorrow, that Hecate's true power becomes clear. She is not the goddess of darkness. She is the goddess who makes darkness bearable. The one who holds all the things too heavy for mortal hearts. The one who walks where no other deity dares. For there is a kind of strength that does not roar, does not strike, does not conquer. A strength that simply endures, compassionate and unwavering. This is Hecate's strength, and this is why she is feared, and revered, and loved in ways that the louder gods will never understand. The torches dim, the crossroads fade. The night folds itself back into silence. Hecate steps across the boundary she alone can cross, leaving only a soft glow behind her. A reminder that somewhere in the world, there is always a door that leads deeper, the secret realms that only Hecate can open. The night was never empty in the ancient world. When mortals blew out their lamps and the roads turned silver under the moon, the veil between realms thinned. Shadows lengthened, footsteps echoed where no feet walked, and at the borders of the world, the doors that should never open began to tremble. Most gods patrol the sky, the sea, the harvest, the hearth, domains neatly divided, easily understood. Hecate is nothing like them. Her realm is thresholds, the places between places, the moments between moments, the realities between realities. And in this part of her story, we venture into the most dangerous aspect of her power. She alone can open the hidden doors of the universe, the ones mortals were never meant to see, the ones even gods whisper about. Every depiction of Hecate carries the same object: keys, ancient, heavy, forged in a divine furnace before Olympus even rose. But these are not keys to temples or chests. They are keys to realms. The first key opens the door of the living world, where mortals walk and choices shape destiny. The second key opens the door to the underworld, not Hades' palace, but the forgotten chambers deep beneath it, where memory dissolves and shadows take form. The third key opens the door to the unseen realms, the liminal dimension between existence and non-existence, where ghosts wander and fate itself writes in the dark. Mortals cannot use these keys. Gods fear to touch them. Only Hecate walks freely through all three, for she is not just a goddess of witchcraft. She is the custodian of cosmic boundaries. In the oldest Orphic hymns, there is a forbidden story. It is said that beneath the underworld, deeper than Tartarus, lies the Chamber of Echoes, an ancient vault where the memories of the dead drift like smoke. No Olympian has ever set foot there, not even Hades. It is a place sealed from the dawn of creation. Only one deity has walked its halls, Hecate. Her torches do not flicker in that darkness. They burn perfectly still, unaffected by wind or shadow, as if the room itself holds its breath in her presence. And in that chamber, she does what no other god can. She listens, not to prayers, not to offerings, but to the forgotten voices of human souls, the ones who died unheard, unburied, unremembered. Some whisper their fears, some scream their regrets, but some ask for vengeance. And to those, Hecate gives but one answer. The road to justice lies at a crossroads. Choose carefully. Most gods see fate as a rigid tapestry woven by the Moirai, the three fates whose threads bind even Zeus. But Hecate knows a secret no other deity dares speak. The fates do not weave the crossroads. At every major turning point in a mortal's life, love, death, betrayal, revenge, salvation, there is a place where their thread can bend, break, or branch. These places are invisible, untouchable, unreachable, except to her. Hecate kneels at these crossroads not to change destiny, but to illuminate the choices that mortals pretend they do not see. You can see her influence throughout ancient myth. When heroes hesitate, when queens resist, when kings falter, when lovers flee into the night, her torch appears, not guiding, not commanding, simply revealing. Because she is not the goddess who forces your hand, she is the goddess who forces you to confront your own soul. There is a secret ritual, known only in fragments. The Greeks spoke of it in hushed voices. The 3 nights of Hecate. On the first night, she walks among mortals. On the second night, she walks among spirits. But on the third night, she does not walk at all. She opens the third door. No mortal knows where it leads. No god has ever followed her. But legends say that during this time, reality weakens. Windows rattle, dogs howl, crossroads shimmer with pale fire, and the world feels slightly misaligned. Priests believed she visited the source of her power, a place beyond creation and destruction, a realm outside of fate, a realm older than the Titans. You cannot hold these kinds of powers without consequences. Even gods pay a price. Hecate's curse is not torment, nor exile, nor humiliation. Her curse is solitude. When you walk in all realms, you belong to none. When you hear every secret, no voice surprises you. When you hold the choices of mortals in your firelit hands, you become forever distant from their struggles. And so the goddess of thresholds also became the goddess of separation. A watcher, a wanderer, a guide no one can guide. Even Zeus respects her. But Zeus does not understand her. No one does. How can you understand the goddess who holds the lock to the world itself? There is one final doorway in her myth, whispered only in rare inscriptions and the dreams of ancient mystics. The door of release. Not release for the dead, not release for the living, release for herself. The one door she has never opened, the one threshold she fears, the one crossing she cannot make. Yet, some say that when the world's final crossroads arrives, when the last soul must make the last choice, when the universe itself faces a turning, Hecate will unlock that final door. And she will walk through it. Where does it lead? Only she knows. Maybe to a new cosmos, maybe to oblivion, maybe to a place where burden ends and silence finally welcomes her. But until that day, she stands watch, a torch in the dark, a key in her hand, a goddess who guards every choice ever made, and every choice yet to come. The night begins where certainty ends, and in that trembling space, where shadows hesitate, where roads split, where souls wander without names, Hecate waits. She does not pace, she does not whisper. She waits because she knows that sooner or later every life arrives at a crossroads. Some come seeking her willingly, most arrive by accident. But all who stand before her glow feel the same familiar shiver. The awareness that the next step will change everything. Because that is what Hecate governs, not death, not fate, but the turning point. Hecate's power is often misunderstood as sorcery alone, but magic is only the surface of her truth. Her real dominion is more ancient, more primal, the moment when a soul stands on the precipice of choice. A man approaches the crossroads at dusk. He is lost, carrying a burden of guilt that weighs heavier than any mortal pack. His path is unclear. One road leads home, one leads toward danger, and one curves into a darkness he does not understand. As he trembles, a flame appears, a single torch. Hecate steps forward, cloaked in the stillness of the night, not threatening, not comforting, merely present. Her dogs pad silently beside her, their eyes reflecting the torchlight like twin moons. She does not tell him which path to choose. She does not ease his suffering. She simply reveals the invisible, the truths he fears, the desires he buries, the outcomes he refuses to imagine. Her gift is clarity, her test is courage. The man chooses, he walks, and behind him the torch dims. This is Hecate's essence, not the goddess who pushes, but the goddess who illuminates. As centuries slipped into millennia, mortals misunderstood her. Priests of Olympus diminished her role. Poets romanticized her darkness. Villagers whispered her name in fear, believing she commanded the dead rather than simply speaking to them. But the witches, the true ones, the old ones, the silent ones, they remembered. To them, Hecate was not wrath, she was knowledge. She taught them the secrets hidden beneath the world's skin. The way shadows respond to emotion, the rhythm of the moon as it shifts the tides of the mind, the power of herbs not yet born under sunlight, the boundaries between dream and waking. The language of Crossroads, which is older than speech itself, these were not curses. These were not threats, they were tools. They were keys, and that is why, in every age where knowledge is forbidden, Hecate becomes feared, because she represents a truth that terrifies kings. Those who understand the night cannot be controlled. In the oldest depictions, Hecate stands alone, tall, robed, torch in hand. But when the world became more complicated, so did she. The Greeks began carving her form into 3 bodies facing 3 directions, each reflecting one of her cosmic aspects. Left, past. The memories, the wounds, the lessons already written. Center, present, the choice point, the razor edge of decision. Right, future, the unknown path, the promise and threat of what may come. But the 3 figures are still one being, one mind. One consciousness stretching across time like a serpent coiled around destiny. She sees every outcome, she knows every path. But she will never choose for you because choice is sacred, and sacred things are not touched, only witnessed. Hecate walks the borders that others avoid. Where the living meet the dead, where the human meets the divine, where day kisses night, where a mind teeters between fear and desire, where a traveler questions whether to keep going. These are not places. These are states of being, and Hecate is the guardian of them all. When a soul stands at the edge of transformation, whether through grief, love, loss, initiation, madness, or revelation, that is where she appears. not to prevent the fall but to light it, to show that even the descent into darkness has a map, if one knows how to read it. Her symbols are simple: a torch to reveal, a key to unlock, a dagger to sever what must be left behind. These are not weapons, these are tools of evolution. When she places the key in a mortal hand, it is always the same unspoken message: unlock the door you fear most. Your true self waits on the other side. And when she lifts her torch, it is not to show the path ahead, but to show you. Because Hecate's flame does not reveal the world, it reveals truth, and that is a far more dangerous thing. At the heart of her myth is a secret most storytellers forget. Hecate is not the goddess of endings. She is not the goddess of beginnings. She is the goddess of the moment between, the breath before the answer, the hesitation before the step, the final heartbeat before a decision becomes destiny. This is her dominion, this is her temple, this is her power, and this is why she remains unchanged, unforgotten, unbroken in every culture touched by the night. Because no matter the age, no matter the world, no matter the era, human beings always come to crossroads. And at every one, there is a flicker of light, a flame that does not burn, a goddess who does not judge, a whisper that says, it is time to choose. The underworld was a place even the gods hesitated to enter. A kingdom built on silence, nourished by shadows, ruled not by tyranny but by inevitability. Here time did not pass. It pooled like unmoving water. Here voices did not echo, they were swallowed whole. But Hecate walked there as though it were her birthright. The mortals who whispered her name in fear saw her as a ghost queen. Some imagined she slept beside Hades himself. Others believed she roamed the deepest caverns, shepherding the damned. But the truth was more mysterious. Hecate did not serve the underworld. She governed its thresholds, the invisible veils between the world of breath and the world of shadows. Her torches were not flames of fire, but of revelation, illuminating what mortals dared not face. The truth of their choices, their sins, their desires, and ultimately their fate. Tonight, Hecate's torches burned brighter than ever, and the dead moved. The gate of the underworld had no hinges. It did not open, it simply allowed itself to be seen. Nothing of its architecture was ordinary. Its pillars were carved from obsidian, polished so smooth they became mirrors reflecting versions of the onlooker's own soul. Its lintel glowed faintly, etched with symbols older than the gods themselves, runes from a time before Titans, before Gaia, before even chaos. But what marked the gate as hers was the threefold shadow cast upon it. 3 silhouettes, 3 faces, 3 forms of the same goddess. Hecate, the maiden of the threshold. Hecate, the mother of sorcery. Hecate, the crone of the night. Her threefold nature was not merely symbolic, it was literal. To stand before her was to stand before 3 women at once. Youth, strength, and age coiled together like serpents around a single staff. She lifted her torches. Instantly, the obsidian surface shimmered, revealing what lay beyond. A river that whispered instead of flowed. A sky without stars. A field of wandering souls. Only Hecate could travel freely here. Even Hermes needed her blessing to guide the newly dead. Hecate stepped across the threshold, her torches lighting the way for a procession of the forgotten. Not all spirits rested peacefully. Some wandered, confused, angry, incomplete. They sought answers they never found in life. They carried regrets like chains. One such spirit drifted toward her now. The woman had no face, only a faint shimmer where features once were. Her voice was a trembling whisper carried upon a breath of cold air. Goddess of the crossroads, find me the path. Let me rest. Hecate's torches flickered. Your path was broken by deceit, she said softly. Come, the truth you were denied shall be returned. This was one of Hecate's oldest duties, to restore what was stolen, to reveal what was hidden, to return what was unjustly taken. She placed one torch upon the spirit. Instantly the underworld shook. Images poured forth, a betrayal, a murder hidden beneath a lie, a soul condemned without justice. The spirit trembled at the revelation. Hecate placed her hand upon the phantom's brow. You are free. The spirit dissolved into light, finally released from torment. This was Hecate's gift, not mercy, not vengeance, but balance. She was neither benevolent nor cruel. She simply restored the natural order, one soul at a time. A low growl stirred in the distance. Heavy paws thudded against the cold earth. A shape emerged from the dark. massive, muscled, with eyes burning like coals. Not Cerberus, but one of her own. The Black Hound of Hecate, a creature born not of flesh but of shadow and lunar fire. A guardian, a hunter of lost souls. A companion to the goddess since the beginnings of time. Where Hecate walked, the hound followed. Tonight it brought news. It growled twice, a warning, then once, a summons. Hecate nodded. "Lead me." The hound bounded ahead, guiding her deeper into the underworld, into a region where even spirits dared not drift. A place known only to the oldest gods, the Well of Silent Moons. There were very few places Hecate feared. This was one of them. The well was not a physical structure. It was a wound in reality itself. A tear between worlds, a scar left by the ancient war between Titans and Olympians. It pulsed with a faint, silvery glow. Moonlight, trapped beneath the surface of black, motionless water. Legends whispered that the well contained memories too old, too powerful, too dangerous to exist. Prophecies that even the fates refused to speak. The hound growled again, lowering its head. Something was rising from the well, a shape coalescing out of moonlight and shadow. At first it resembled a woman, tall, veiled, spectral. But then the figure spoke in a voice that was not a voice. A choral hum, like 1,000 whispers layered over one another. "Hecate," it said, "keeper of the gates, bearer of the torches, you have been summoned." Hecate did not flinch. "By whom?" The figure lifted its face. Behind the veil was not a woman, but a moon carved from bone, cracked and bleeding light. "By the Forgotten Ones," it said. "The ancient gods who existed before Olympus, before Titans, before the birth of time itself." The underworld trembled at these words. Hecate's torches fled bright as stars. For the first time in countless ages, she felt something stranger than fear. Recognition. She whispered, "They have awakened." The figure dissolved. The well went silent. The hound pressed against her side, trembling. Hecate turned and began the long walk back toward the realm of the living. Her torches burned brighter than ever, for the crossroads of the world were shifting. A doorway long sealed was opening, and Hecate, guardian of boundaries, was being called not to close it, but to face whatever waited on the other side. For more long videos, please visit my channel, like and subscribe.